There's a verse in the Bible that gets super commonly misunderstood, and honestly, I can see why. It's Psalms 37:4, which says, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart." This doesn't mean that God's just going to give us whatever our flesh desires or whatever our motives and our desires that are driven by our sin. But sometimes God will give people over to their sin, especially if they choose to live apart from him, whether that be money, fame, maybe like a relationship that you shouldn't be in, that you want, that God hasn't granted. And when God gives you over to your sin like that, that's simply it's not him blessing you. It's him simply giving people over to their disobedience, which actually ends in usually heartbreak or ends in something that is far worse than if you ever were granted that thing to begin with. Like, looking on the outside, we might look at people that live in sin and we're like, why do these people, they have all the money or all the fame or all these things that they wanted? But I look at it like a parent. It's the same thing with, if you have a 2-year-old that wants X, Y, or Z thing. And as a parent, that that's not good for them in the long run. God can see the bigger picture. So we look at things at a micro level or human level. So ultimately God wants what's best for us. So what this verse really means is that when we accept Jesus, he starts to sanctify our heart. And by doing that, our heart starts to become like Jesus. So our desires actually start to become Jesus' desires. So ultimately, God does put certain desires and passions in us. He created us to have those passions. But instead of choosing to use them for the world, our desires start to become like Jesus. So we start to use our passions and all of our creativity and all of our desires for his kingdom instead.